Looks like Bobby Lashley, who has not wrestled a match since a live event in France at the beginning of May, and MVP, who has not wrestled a match in the last 2 years, but he's been managing Omos, who has not even been featured on TV, are both on their way out of WWE. Fightful Select first reported that Lashley's contract was due to expire over the course of these next few weeks. PW Insider says a contract offer was made, but it was not one that he was overly enthusiastic to sign, and one source said that Lashley is interested in seeing what he could fetch on the open market. In the case of MVP, they say his deal is up in mid-August, and there have not been any discussions yet about a new deal. The belief within WWE is that both are likely to leave when their deals expire, and they may be interested in pairing back up with Shelton Benjamin for a Hurt Business reunion, somewhere like AEW, although they would not be able to use that name because WWE has it trademarked. In an Instagram post on Wednesday, MVP hinted at leaving by writing, "I came back so my baby boy could see daddy in a WWE ring. The Royal Rumble. That's all I wanted, a one-off. I was ready to retire. Then I got an offer to become a producer. The pandemic hit. I became a producer and a commentator for Main Event. Next, they asked me to put the boots on and help out with TV during the PC era. 1 episode of Raw. MVP was in 9 segments. Heyman agreed to put me and Roberto together. I signed a full-time talent contract, and then we made history. What a ride." Paul Levesque, when he was in London this week, when Nick Khan, talking to the mayor about bringing WrestleMania there, was asked by local media for an update on the 2 men here. And he said, "Just like any sport, any business, we sign talent. Talent contract runs out. We release talent. It's just part of the process, so it's an ongoing thing." So the classic non-answer answer. It sure sounds like their contracts are up and he doesn't expect them to be sticking around. I can't imagine that he is very happy with MVP, throwing shade at him on social media constantly about him shooting down the idea of reforming the Hurt Business and implying that there may be racial tendencies or racial motivations behind that decision, when some fans were saying that. He wasn't exactly refuting what they were saying. So if they didn't want to renew MVP, I can actually understand that, even though I think they should have been using him in other roles on TV. I think he could have been a very effective mouthpiece for people other than just Omos, who Triple H clearly has no interest in using and has just given up on. I mean, Omos was a Vince McMahon project, and as soon as Vince was fully gone and truly fell out of power, the Omos experiment came to an end. Okay, you can track the two. I mean, it's just, you could tell exactly where the Omos experiment died. And out of the ring, Omos seems like the nicest guy in the world. I don't even know how I ended up watching it, but there was a video I was watching on YouTube the other night. I'm sitting here watching a video of Omos sitting in front of a webcam talking about his favorite fragrances, because apparently he's very big into cologne and different brands of cologne. And I'm sitting here going, it's like 11:45 at night, and I go, why am I sitting here watching Omos, talking to me about all of these different fragrances, and why can't I not look away? He seems like a really nice guy. But I mean, realistically, what else is Triple H supposed to do with him other than maybe make him an enforcer for a group? He's limited in what he can do. And it's not like he's this great promo or anything. Well, even if we don't have him in the ring, we have to have him on TV. I mean, again, that's why they put MVP with him. Lashley leaving is disappointing, though. But it may be for the best. It's clear that they did not have a role for him, a defined role for him on the show. They tried to turn him and the Street Profits heel, and the fans cheered him anyway because they like him and they don't want to boo him. And I think that may have ruined whatever plans that they may have had for those 3 guys if they wanted them heel, and then maybe they felt like, well, we can't do it. We were going to turn them and we were going to have them work with certain baby faces on the show, but now the people are cheering them and we have to keep them as baby faces. So they ended up in a dead end feud with the Final Testament that went nowhere. Then Lashley supposedly got hurt in May, but we never found out what the injury was. And now with this news, I'm left wondering if there really was ever any injury to begin with, or if that was just a cover story to cover for contract negotiations. I don't know if he was ever hurt or not. But let's talk about this Hurt Business stuff for a second, because I am seeing a lot of enthusiasm for a Hurt Business reunion in AEW if Tony Khan brings in Lashley and Shelton and MVP. The Hurt Business formed during those early pandemic shows in front of no fans. Okay, it started out with MVP. He was representing Lashley, and he was promising to take Lashley to the WWE title. Then Benjamin got added, and then Alexander. They would walk out. They were wearing these expensive suits, and it became a fixture on those Performance Center Raw shows, right? There was a cool factor to them. Shelton and Cedric, they won the Raw Tag Team titles. Lashley held the United States Championship. And then, after he dropped it, almost immediately after he dropped it, he finally won the WWE title. Almost a year after the group was formed. Fast forward to 2022, they split up. And that was a controversial move because they did not want to split up. And a lot of fans did not want them to split up. I did not want them to split up. There was still mileage left in the group. Lashley and MVP, they were so upset, they even went to Vince McMahon to try to argue for why he should keep them together. But he dug in his heels and he was adamant, nope, you're done. The group is done. Now, if you remember, it was right after Lashley won the WWE title, like I'm talking within a few weeks, that Cedric and Shelton lost the tag team titles and Lashley attacked them and he kicked them out of the group. And it wasn't until many months later that they helped Lashley. I forgot what they helped him with, but they were like trying to get back in his good graces and get back on his good side. And they were like kind of back together for a while, but not really. And then Lashley just cut him off for good. And that was the end of the Hurt Business once and for all. That should tell you something. Maybe not in the eyes of Bobby Lashley and MVP, okay? Because they were in it and they're the ones who put this group together. And maybe their intentions for it were different, but certainly in the eyes of Vince McMahon, the Hurt Business was formed for one reason. That was to get Lashley over and to get him to the WWE Championship. As soon as he won the title, that was the beginning of the end of the Hurt Business. He just seemed to lose complete interest in the Hurt Business. But that was the main purpose of the group in the first place. The Hurt Business never existed to get Shelton Benjamin over or to get Cedric Alexander over, because Vince McMahon didn't give a fuck about either one of those guys. This is what some people don't understand. It was to help Bobby Lashley, and it worked. The Hurt Business cannot be seen as anything but a success. It accomplished its goal. Now, did it end prematurely? Absolutely. Like I said, they should have kept it going for longer because it would have benefited everybody involved. I think they could have even added another one or two members if they wanted to. But that was never Vince McMahon's intent. If it was, he wouldn't have split them up when he did. But yes, there was more mileage they could have gotten out of it. If they were Samoan, they would still be together today, okay? What I don't understand is why Lashley and MVP kept arguing for a reunion, and they even teased it on television a few times. I remember there were some backstage segments, and they kind of teased the idea that they might reform the group, and then Triple H never followed through with it, because he had the book by that point. Vince McMahon absolutely deserves blame for why the Hurt Business died, but Triple H is not absolved of blame here either. If he wanted to bring them back, they would be back right now. He had the chance to. And they teased it, and then they did nothing to follow up, and then they just dropped the idea altogether. MVP made that very clear in his social media replies, that Triple H is the one who had the power to bring them back, and he told them, I don't want the Hurt Business back. And MVP is clearly upset with him over that. Does that make Triple H a racist because he didn't want to bring back the Hurt Business? No. And to be clear, nowhere has MVP called Triple H a racist, but his responses have had fans online. The reason I even bring this up, and I hate even talking about this, but his responses have had fans online saying stuff like that. And if MVP knows things that we don't, that would lead him to insinuate any kind of racial motivation behind those decisions, Then next month, when he becomes a free man and he gets that inevitable Chris Van Vliet interview, then he can talk about that. Triple H has been a part of some racially insensitive shit on TV as a performer. A lot of people have been. In just the last 2 weeks, we've had ex-WWE talent talking about this very thing. Jinder Mahal did an interview with Chris, where he talked about a racial promo that Vince McMahon had him cut on Shinsuke Nakamura that he regrets doing. He said he's not proud of it. He tried to get out of it, but well, they insisted, so he did the promo. Shelton Benjamin talked about something similar, a promo that Vince had him cut on Yoshitatsu. He said it was a disgusting, racist promo, and it's the one thing that he wishes he could erase from his career. And think how long Shelton's been doing this for. That's the one thing in his career he wishes he could erase. He's ashamed of it. This company has had a history of this for a very long time. Triple H, I don't know that he was forced to wear blackface for that DX parody of the nation, or that he was forced to talk about Booker T's nappy hair and how people like you don't win championships. There's no excuse for that, especially when they still book Triple H to go over on him. But if you're going to make that argument, I would not be using 2 scripted segments on TV 20 years ago to prove a point about him as a booker, in case anybody tries to do so. You could absolutely drag him on the Montez Ford tease last year at Elimination Chamber when it looked like he was poised to break out as a single star, and then they followed that up by doing absolutely nothing with him. You don't need to break up the Street Profits even to give Montez Ford a singles push, but they never even tried. They teased it, but they never went anywhere with it. Now, you want to drag Triple H for that? Go for it. I did. You want to argue that Ricochet should have been more successful than he was? Go for it. Not the greatest promo in the world, but Ricochet is just one of these once-in-a-lifetime type performers, the shit that he is able to do. That's what got him noticed. That's what got him a job in the company in the first place, and he's somebody who should have gone farther than he did, or maybe should have been protected more than he was. But does this mean that they're being held back because Triple H is a racist? I don't believe that. What I can tell you is, the way some people online talk about the Hurt Business, you would think that it was the fucking Horsemen of the NWO. Let's not get carried away here. The Hurt Business was a fun group that could work somewhere else. And if they decide to go to AEW or TNA and start up a new version there, I think that would be cool. And if they don't, I'm fine with that too. Lashley had a good reason to be upset last year when he was left off the WrestleMania card. Okay, he was supposed to work with Bray Wyatt. Bray got sick. And unfortunately, the best they could come up with for Lashley was winning the Andre Battle Royal on SmackDown. They had 2 nights of WrestleMania and could not find a spot for one of their biggest stars on that show. Like I said, Lashley and the Street Profits, they were going to go heel. The fans didn't want to boo them, so they ended up in this weird spot, this like purgatory, where they weren't clearly defined. Here's another thing to keep in mind. Bobby Lashley is also 48 years old. If he was in AEW, Tony Khan would make him the TNT champion. But he's not. He's 48. Doesn't look it. He's in the best shape of his life. He looks at least 10 years younger than he is. I mean, the guy looks like $1 million. AJ Styles is 47, and he's also in the best shape of his life. And there are a lot of people who think, man, he should have gotten one more run by now with the WWE title. I want AJ to get that one more run. Instead, he got 2 matches with Cody Rhodes, and he lost them both. They're just not focusing on the old guard as much, or they're using them to get other people over. Sheamus is 46. He's kind of in that same role right now. I was shocked that they kept Lashley and Roman Reigns apart during Roman's title run. They could have gotten at least one PLE match out of that. But then you would have had people complaining after Lashley lost, oh, they're burying him. You know, why? Why are they doing this to Bobby Lashley? It's clear they were not going to push him anymore in a major spot. And maybe that's one of the reasons that Lashley wants out. Maybe he's not creatively satisfied. He wants to be doing more. Or maybe he really does want to test the free agent waters and see if he can get a great deal somewhere else that gives him the freedom to work different places and not just for one company. He would have that if he worked for AEW. He would have that if he worked for TNA. Maybe he wants to get back into MMA and do some fighting as well. I don't know what the man is thinking. I can't get in his head. Lashley would be a big pickup for TNA right now, especially with the history he has there. That run there when he won the world title and he was part of American Top Team and coming out with Dan Lambert, I mean, that's what first opened my eyes to what Lashley could be. And with this new TNA relationship with WWE, let's say if he does go to TNA, who's to say he doesn't end up back on WWE TV again? I mean, right now it's just NXT and TNA, but who knows what the future holds? I mean, hell, I would be surprised if we don't get a Joe Hendry cameo in the Royal Rumble next year. So I will follow Lashley wherever he goes. I'm very curious to see where he ends up and how he does there. I will definitely follow what he is doing, and I think, again, he and MVP together, they made a great combo. I'd love to see them revive that somewhere else if it's something that Triple H just is not interested in. But to start throwing around all these different kinds of accusations that now are floating out there, I can't sit here and say that Triple H is this or Triple H is that. At the end of the day, Triple H just may not have wanted to bring back the Hurt Business. And he may not have any story for Bobby Lashley, and Lashley is like, you know what, I'm going to go try my hand somewhere else. It could be as simple as that.